I don't even know what to say right now. Seriously, I have no idea what to say. I mean, that was by far the craziest episode of Witch of the East End I've ever seen. By far. Definitely the craziest episode. And, just, wow, what a crazy, crazy episode. Now, I just don't know what to say. Now, I will say that we kind of did see this coming, but, wow, what an episode. Guys, this is going to be my review for Witch of the East End, Season 2, Episode 9, Smells Like King Spirit, and this episode was just, holy shit, this episode was huge. Just, holy shit, I mean, when they announced that this episode was going to be the craziest episode of Witch of the East End, I was like, okay, I can see that. But they said that they were going to kill off 2 huge characters. Now, when I thought huge, I was thinking maybe Dash, Killian, Tommy, Frederick, you know, someone like that. Not someone like who they ended up killing off. Now, guys, I am just in total shock right now. This was not only the best episode of the season, it was also the best episode of the entire show, because they brought plots back from Season 1, they talked about stuff from Season 1, they wrapped up some of the bigger plot points in this episode, and I like that they did that, because now we just have one storyline that is definitely changed the entire show. When they said that it's going to change the entire show, I'm like, there's no way this is going to change the entire show. It has definitely changed the entire show, and just, wow, what a great twist. I would have never seen it coming, and let's just get to it, because overall, this episode was just fucking amazing. Amazing, seriously. Witch of the East End is just, it's by far one of the best shows on TV after this episode. By far. The fact that they had the balls to do what they did in this episode really shows that this show is one of the best shows on TV. Let's get the episode, though. So we start off with Dash, and he is trashing his place because he can't get a hold of Ingrid, you know, because Ingrid said, I don't want anything to do with you in the last episode. And he finds some books that belong to Archibald Browning. Now, if you remember, Archibald was that guy that Ingrid had a relationship with in episode, you know, we found this out in that flashback episode last year. I thought it was interesting they reintroduced that plot in this episode. They reintroduced quite a few things in this episode, and I thought that was pretty cool. So that was a weird way to start the episode, definitely. The next scene kind of felt like how they should have started the episode. Because we see Frederick, and Frederick, of course, he was going to do the ritual on Caroline. You know, he had numbed her and everything he said. You know, he told her he loved her. He decides not to go through with it, because he loves Caroline, and he doesn't want to do this to her. He doesn't just want to, you know, use Caroline, and I thought that was actually good what he did, because Frederick made his own choice, and this episode really made us realize we can, in fact, trust Frederick, and I like that, because before it's like, well, we didn't really know, but this episode made us realize Frederick we can trust, because he decided not to go through with Tarkoff's plan. So basically, he was going to use Caroline's vessel for the king, but he opts out of the ritual right before he was to plunge a dagger into her, and he receives a beating from Tarkoff, very ferocious beating for not following through, and he's very bloody, very disoriented. Like, Tarkoff really fucked him up really bad, so he's in a very bad condition, and yeah, so that was a really big thing that happened. So Freya, meanwhile, arrives at the library, and she quickly fills Ingrid in the mixed signals from Dash, and her concerns that Ava spelled him, you know, not Dash, Killian, I said Dash, from Killian, and her concerns that Ava spelled him into changing his mind after their night together, because, you know, she doesn't understand what's going on. 1 minute, Killian and Freya were all, you know, lovey-dovey and everything, and loved each other, and said they loved each other, and it seemed like they're back together. The next moment, Killian's like to her, I want nothing to do with you, so she is really, you know, trying to figure out what's going on here. So Ingrid tries to chalk it up to the tension between her sister and Killian needing to be released somehow, and her opinion of the matter doesn't get any better, because Freya's rambling on about how Ava's up to something, and Freya's too focused on getting answers to care about. Now, her sister, you know, Ingrid pretty much is thinking, oh, you're crazy and everything. Freya is not stupid, though. Here's the thing. Freya is not stupid. She knows there's some sort of a spell going on, and she knows that Ava is up to something. One thing I forgot to talk about with Ava's plot that was really big, which I'll get to, I completely forgot about this last week. I didn't even realize this in the last episode. We're going to talk about it when we get to it, but so yeah, she's trying to do that. And meanwhile, Wendy is assisting Tommy in seeking out after their night together. They've just had sex, and, you know, we cut back after that. And she tells him to give her 10 minutes and bolt out through the garden. Unfortunately, Joanna already knows about the time the two spent together, And she's not mad, though. She's more concerned about healing Frederick than what Wendy chooses to do with her time. And I thought that was funny, definitely, that scene. I thought that was a good scene overall. Just, Wendy has gotten herself into some pretty crazy situations, and this is by far one of the funniest. So, Joanna's attention is further directed away from Wendy because Frederick reveals everything about Tarkoff, and, you know, I was so happy that he finally told them, look, it's Tarkoff that's doing this, I have nothing to do with this, I'm not part of this, it's all Tarkoff. You know, he admits that the king being very physically weak, and he suggests that Joanna use her strong mind and formidable powers to kill Tarkoff, who pops into the garden just as Tommy was about to leave and kidnaps the EMT without anyone knowing otherwise. So, Joanna, of course, is furious because she pretty much thought that Tarkoff really had feelings for her, when really he doesn't. And in order to combat Tarkoff, she brings out a box of 3 death scorpions, weapons that the Beauchamps invented that induce paralysis on the first sting before killing their victim with a second sting. However, there's still the matter of finding Tarkoff, because they don't know where he is. They don't know where Tarkoff is at this point. They don't know. So, they're basically being able to surprise one of the world's strongest telepaths, the latter being especially difficult, and, yeah, so that was definitely very interesting. And then let's get to the thing I forgot last week. Now, remember Ava's supposed grandmother, Alma? That is actually her daughter. I left that out last week. Huge plot line, but I completely left it out. And, that's huge, because we see that Ava's doing a spell involving spit and an egg that's supposed to tell her if she has a chance at having a baby with Killian. However, the egg yolk turns black and noticeably unnerves her, so basically that's showing that, no, she can't have another baby, but Alma really wants to, because she wants her mom to live, obviously, so she really wants Ava to have another baby, but she can't, honestly, she can't. So, then Freya sneaks over, looking for something that she can serve as concrete proof regarding Ava's less than honorable intentions with Killian. You know, she doesn't really trust Ava right now, and she wants to know what's going on here. And she finds a potion in the drawer that she stashes, but she's called back to her house by a text from Wendy. So, she doesn't get a chance to go further into that. However, she and Frederick are going to use their astral projection power to find Tarkoff so that Wendy and Joanna can kill him, because that's their main goal right now. Their main mindset is to kill Tarkoff. That's all they care about. Killing Tarkoff is what they want to do. That is their mindset right now. It's, you know, we need to kill Tarkoff, and that's what we're going to do. We don't care about anything else right now. So, Dash, meanwhile, confronts Ingrid about the photo he found, because he doesn't understand how she can be alive in the 1900s, and today. Because if she was alive today, she would be, like, you know, say, Alma's, you know, Ava's age. I mean, Alma's age. That's how old she'd be. So, basically, he wants to know more about that. And meanwhile, Frederick and Freya, they complete with Travel Talesman. They do their spell and locate Tarkoff at abandoned St. Gabriel's Psychiatric Hospital. I really like the way the scene was done. Very creepy stuff here. He has Tommy bound and gagged to mattress springs. It's very much like Victor. I thought Tommy was going to die the second this happened. They pretty much want us to think Tommy's going to die at this point. I really thought he was going to. Because they made it seem like he was going to, and after mentioning that Tommy was perfect candidate to act as a vessel for the king, Tarkoff stabs him and mentions that the first thing he needs to do in order to implant the king's spirit is to cut it out of Frederick. So, that's what he needs to do. He needs to cut out the spirit out of Frederick, and this causes Freya to quickly turn back home and inform Wendy and Joanna of what she just heard, because she's terrified right now. Obviously, she's terrified. Now, Frederick's trying to explain what's going on, and Joanna tosses a death scorpion at him, allows it to sting and paralyze him, though Wendy wanted him to get a second sting as well, and, yeah, so that was really intense. So Ingrid, meanwhile, is reading through some of Archibald's journals and makes out more than what Dash could. And I was really glad she told him this. You know, she tells him the truth, that she doesn't want him to keep the journals, claiming that the evil within them is so hardwired that those who use it, the spells contained within them, become evil themselves. And she then confesses to the curse that she, Freya, and Joanna are under, you know, that she tells them about the curse that, you know, if you guys don't remember, Ingrid and Freya, they are regenerated, and Joanna can't die. She literally just has to keep regenerating them over and over again, and that's how it's happened. And I was very surprised she told him. Now, after she told him that, I was getting a little bit suspicious of why they're actually going into this right now, because this is not something that we were really thinking about right now, so I thought that was definitely interesting. And she reveals to Dash that Archibald is his grandfather, and I thought that was huge when we found that out, that Archibald is his grandfather, and that Penelope was his daughter. And that, we knew this before, but, basically, yeah, Penelope was his daughter, and, Dash is obviously very weirded out by this. He's like, wait a second, you had sex with my grandfather? And, you know, he's very weirded out by that. However, in order to keep from repeating the patterns of his past, Dash needs to burn the journals and avoid touching this kind of magic, because he does not want this, he doesn't want to remember this, really. He doesn't want this to be remembered. It's that simple. So, I thought that was very interesting when that happened. I thought that was definitely a very interesting scene, and definitely really big stuff happened there. Definitely really, really big stuff. Good stuff, though, too. I really enjoyed that scene. So, meanwhile, at the Bend Elbow, Killian confronts Freya over the break-in that morning because, you know, she just sneaked in and then she left, which ended with Alma telepathically breaking glass and scaring her out of the house. So, Freya tries to get him to understand her concerns about Ava, especially now that she has found mind controller demons to breathe in the house, but he simply wants her to stay away from his wife, and, you can't tell if he's under the spell or not at this point. I don't know if he was, you just really can't tell. And the two go to his home, though, and they, you know, I thought this was probably one of the saddest scenes in Witches of East End history. Definitely. This was such a well-done scene. It was very sad. It was very well done, though, in my opinion. Even though it was so sad, it was very well done, and I really love the way this scene was constructed. Very good stuff here. They go over to Killian's home, and they find Ava standing by the window in nothing but a nightgown, and she's crying. She's hysterically crying. She is just so upset at this point. She finally tells Killian the truth about what drew them together and why she needed a child so badly. And I thought this was interesting, what we found out here. Basically, you know, we also see that Ava is old right now. She's not young anymore. She is old. And basically, here is what happened to her. Having been born immortal, she received her powers by making a deal with a warlock, but the condition was she would stay powerful and beautiful as long as she bore a warlock's child before her previous child passed away. So, the desperation she had was in needing to get pregnant before allying Alma, you know, succumb to her physical deficiencies. However, Alma has passed away. Alma's dead now because sometime after the break-in. So the spell the warlock cast on Ava broke, leaving her a decrepit mortal on the edge of death. So pretty much Ava's pretty close to dying at this point. It's just such a sad scene to watch because this actually really made me care for her character because she didn't want to do anything bad. She just wanted to have a child. It's really that simple. She wanted to live, and the only way she could is to have a child. It wasn't something she could control, and Ava's storyline, honestly, they made us think that Ava was going to be this huge villain, and I thought it was good that they changed it, because I, for one, did not want two huge villains. I wanted one main villain. I didn't want two huge villains. I liked that they made us think that Ava was this bad person, and now we're finding out that Ava really was just some person that really just wanted a child. She wanted this child, she wanted to care for a child, and that's really all she wanted, and I thought that was just very well done. Fantastic scene, and fantastic acting, definitely, from the girl that plays Ava, Bianca Lawson. Fantastic acting from her. Probably the best acting we've seen from the show. It's going to be sad to see Ava go, because honestly, after the storyline, I really appreciate her storyline. I liked her storyline throughout the whole season, but especially this episode, I really was into her storyline, definitely. And, basically because of this, you know, Killian is urging Freya to try to help Ava, but it's no use. You know, they keep trying to say a spell, and it's not working. There's no way for her to be brought back, not when she's this weak. And just before Ava dies, we find out something huge. Killian reads her mind, and we find out that she really did love him. The whole, her loving him, it was real. There was none of, you know, that was not fake. That part was real. And I thought that was interesting that we found it out, because this whole time I thought Ava was faking loving him. And it turns out that she truly did love him, and just the fact that we found that out, I thought that was great that we found that out, because I wasn't expecting that at all, and I thought that was definitely very well done. So, very sad scene, definitely very sad stuff there, but it's gonna be sad, again, it's gonna be sad to see Ava go, but definitely a really good scene, definitely. Now, when they wrap that up, I'm like, why are they wrapping this up so early? We're only on episode 9, why are they wrapping it up so early? And now that I knew what happened at the end of the episode, now I know why they wrapped it up so early. So at this point, it seems like that's, you know, gonna be the biggest part of the episode, but then we get to the meat and potatoes of the episode, the big stuff happens. Because just as Tarkov is about to give up on Tommy, he sees the symbol carved into the EMT's chest begins glowing, meaning he's the proper vessel for the king to return to it. So at the car, basically, that's what he's planning on doing. So at the Gardner estate, Dash burns the journals, and he begins considering fixing things with Killian, and after Ingrid suggested, because, Ingrid said, look, I've told you a big secret, now you need to be honest with your brother, and I thought that was, that's the truth, that if Ingrid is, if Ingrid tells the truth to him, he needs to be honest with Killian, because Killian does not know something huge, and I thought this was great that they brought this back, because Dash never actually told Killian this, and it was really big in my opinion when he told him. He ended up telling him the truth about how when he got his powers back, when last season when Penelope died and Freya had just broken his heart, he tried to kill Killian, and Killian did not know this, obviously, because he just doesn't, because his memory was wiped of it, and I thought that was very well done that he finally told him. I was like, yes, he's finally telling him. I actually forgot about that, personally. I was glad that the show made us remind that, because I forgot about that, and that was definitely very big. So, after that happens, we'll talk a little bit about what happens after that, but Tarkoff ends up calling Freya as Ingrid, and we hear Ingrid, she's basically saying, oh, there's a man here, I'm in big trouble and everything, it's not, good and anything, and it turns out that's actually Tarkoff. Ingrid is not on the phone right now. It's actually Tarkoff that's on the phone, and Ingrid has been knocked out on the floor, only for Tarkoff to lock her in the building with her sister, and making escape damn near impossible. That's what he wants to do. He basically wants to keep them there hostage. We don't know what he wants to do at this point with them. So that scene was huge when that happened. That was definitely just huge when that happened. And Joanne and Wendy, they arrive at the hospital, and they find Tommy's bloody shirt, but no Tommy. He's not there. So Joanna arranged the meeting with Killian at the bent elbow, except that she didn't get the results she wanted there. He confirms that his participation in the rebellion against the king was only as a spy, and informs Joanna that she would be his reward for getting the king through to this realm. Now, he says, look, I do love you, I do care about you and everything, but this is not enough for Joanna to just say, alright, that's fine. Nope, she tosses a death scorpion right at him, only to have it stopped in midair and blown up when their powers collide against one another, while trying to push the weapon at the other, and shit, that was awesome. Like, when that happened, I'm like, okay, shit's about to go down on this show, and it's about to get huge. Things are about to get huge here, and it really did, because of what happens next. That was just, like, that was the point where I'm like, okay, something big is about to happen. Here's the thing, though. We don't see Freya come to Tarkov, so I didn't understand why. We didn't see that happen. We saw Ingrid knocked down on the floor, but we didn't see anything after that. So I was wondering, why aren't we seeing them here? And we find out why at the end, which I'll talk about. Before this happens, though, Dash, as I said, came clean to Killian, and they end up in literally a huge fight, because Killian is obviously pissed at Dash. I mean, think about it. If you told your brother that you tried to kill him, he'd be pissed. Obviously, Killian's pissed. It makes sense why he's pissed. I am in no shock that he's pissed, and that's the reaction anyone would give. That's a reaction a normal human being would give, is, what the fuck are you talking about? Why would you try to kill me? It makes perfect sense why Killian's mad at him. So, they end up in this huge fight. Really awesome choreography in that fight scene. Really great fight scene. Probably the most intense fight scene we've had on the show. And honestly, that was just awesome. I mean, I thought that's how the episode was going to end, because it seemed like in the promo they were going to end with that fight scene. And they didn't. That's not where the most shocking part came from. They exchange punches, and several of Dash's being charged with magic, and Dash stops the truck from hitting him just before he and Killian charge at one another, and they end up destroying the Gardner attic. It's completely destroyed, and Dash and Killian, they're out cold, and meanwhile, Kyle's body has been floated to the surface now that the jar that contained the doll was broken. So, Kyle's alive. That's huge. Kyle's alive. Kyle's, well, I don't know if he's alive, but Kyle's body, we found out where it is, and that's huge when we know where it is, because it's going to be really big when we find out what happens there. And I like now that Dash and Killian, we now have a lot of tension between them, because before, I was like, Dash needs to tell Killian the truth, and I was so happy he finally told him the truth. It was just so big, and the way that was revealed was awesomely done. So then at the Beauchamps, Tarkov gets surprised by Frederick and finds himself stunned once by a death scorpion, but before Frederick shoves the weapon in his mouth to choke him, before Tarkov passes, he tells Frederick about the present that's awaiting him in the backyard, and I'm like, what is he talking about? What could he possibly do? I was thinking maybe he'd kill, say, like, maybe he'd do something bad to Caroline, or he would, maybe do something to Frederick, maybe have Frederick lose his powers. I honestly did not know what Tarkov was talking about here. I was like, what are you really talking about? I didn't understand what Tarkov was talking about. And when we found out what he was planning, I'm just like, this guy needs to die now, because Frederick discovers the present from Tarkov. We see, Wendy and Joanna talking about whether they can kill Tarkov or not, and Frederick is just in complete despair. He can't even talk. He's just like, the backyard. Go into the backyard. And the way the scene was done was so heartbreaking. Just such a heartbreaking scene. I almost teared up in this scene. Wendy and Joanna go out, and you see Joanna bawling because Ingrid and Freya have been hanged by Tarkov, and they are dead. Wow. Holy shit. That is just huge right there. That is absolutely huge, because here's the thing. Freya and Ingrid are two of the biggest characters on this show. I was like, they can't kill off Freya and Ingrid. There's no way. Go watch. By the way, guys, I knew who died before this episode. It was still shocking to me. I found out because I watched the last 2 minutes, because I'm like, okay, what happened in the last 2 minutes? And I wanted to see. Immediately before I reviewed Boardwalk Empire, I watched the final 2 minutes of Witch of East End. Probably not a good decision, but it was still very effective. And just wow. After this episode, Witches of East End is by far one of the best shows on TV. After this episode, there is no doubt about it. Witches of East End is by far one of the biggest shows on TV. One of the best shows on TV. And the fact that they went out and killed someone as big as Ingrid and Freya is huge. Now, if you look at the episode, it kind of makes sense, because Ingrid talked to Dash about them being brought back, and it looks like next week Wendy's going to try to give up her last life for Ingrid and Freya. I'm going to say there's no way this is permanent. There's no way. They're not going to kill off Freya and Ingrid permanently. They have a lot of fans. Ingrid, she's one of the reasons why there are so many male viewers on this show, because she's nice to look at. Freya's nice to look at as well. They have very good plot lines as well. I've been enjoying their plot lines. Freya's is pretty much over, though, because now all she has to do is get back with Killian. And here's what I'll say. Bring Ingrid and Freya back, I would say, probably the second to last episode, because if they do that on the second to last episode, I'll be very happy if they decide to do that, because if we kind of see Joanna and Wendy struggling without Ingrid and Freya, I think that's going to be interesting, because we've never seen them really struggle without Ingrid and Freya, and I think it's going to be interesting to watch, definitely. Now, the other thing I do want to talk about as far as this death goes, I don't know if Joanna's going to be able to resurrect them. I don't know if she's going to be able to. We'll have to see if she can. Now, remember, she can't die, so she has to resurrect him either way, but Tarkov needs to die now. Seriously, this guy needs to die. How did he not get killed by that scorpion? I want to know. How did he not get killed by the scorpion? I want to know how he did not get killed by it. Killian and Dash, they now have to deal with Kyle's body, and they're not on good terms, obviously, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens with them. I like that there's this tension going on with them. That's going to be interesting to see, definitely. And it's pretty much now Joanna and Wendy versus Tarkov, and shit is definitely going to go down. It went down this episode. By far the most intense episode of the season. By far the best episode of the entire show. Just, oh my god, I can't believe they would kill someone as big as Freya and Ingrid. But I have to say, all the acting was amazing in this episode. The really good stuff from Ava, I really enjoyed. I really liked the way they wrapped up her storyline. I wish we could have seen her again, but I like the way they wrapped up her storyline. It was a good way to kind of move the story forward of Freya and Killian. Oh, one other thing. Ingrid mentioned that her and Dash kind of have parallels between her and Archibald, because she thought she could trust Archibald, and it didn't work, so, there are parallels between them, so I'm wondering if that's going to stop as well. Also, if Joanna does resurrect Freya and Ingrid, if you remember, they have no memory, so here's what I'm thinking. If they do come back, they're not going to have any memories at all, so even if they do come back, they're not going to be the same, which is really cool, because they're not going to have any memory of what happened in their past life. They're not going to remember Killian. They're not going to remember Dash. And that's going to be huge if that happens. Because again, she can't die, they can't die, she has to resurrect them, and that's just what has to happen. So it's going to be interesting to see if they do end up, living. I definitely think they are going to end up living, but what's going to be more interesting, in my opinion, is the way that this is going to affect Joanna. Definitely Joanna's going to be a very different person, I can tell. She is going to be hell-bent on killing Tarkov. That's what she wants to do, and that's what she's going to try to do. Also, is Tommy dead? I really don't know. I don't think Wendy cares at this point. I think Wendy only cares about Ingrid and Freya now, but that was definitely good to see as well. That's my review. Holy shit, such a great episode. Let me know what you guys saw this episode. Oh my god, such a great show. And I will see you guys in my next video, which I guess won't be till tomorrow when I will review tomorrow's episode of Sons of Anarchy, because I have nothing to review to you guys tonight. I'm currently binging Homeland because that's the next show I need to watch. I'm also going to binge Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because I'm reviewing that. So I will see you guys in my next video, which will be my review for Sons of Anarchy. So I'll see you guys for that. Okay, bye.